Hello, this is Angela with Parkrose Permaculture. It is a perfect day for transplanting out the new baby plants I'm going to be adding to my front yard bed. Cool, overcast, rained last night, more rain in the forecast. This is the perfect time to transplant. You don't want to transplant on beautiful sunny days. You don't want to transplant when the ground is really dry. This is optimal weather. So I've got to get these plants in the ground. I am redoing my front bed. I had a video unboxing the plants that I ordered from Prairie Nursery, and I have some other plants from Zira Nursery as well that I'm adding to my front yard bed and to my rain garden, because those are two areas that are very high sun and have low water parts of them. And I want to make them more resilient. Our summers are getting hotter. They're getting drier. The sun has been really intense, and some of my other plants have struggled. So I want to move those plants that are no longer appropriate for those locations into more sheltered parts of my garden. And I want to create those hardy, resilient beds that don't need a lot of babying from me in these sunny locations. In permaculture, we strive to be low effort, but we're not no effort. And that means that we want to tweak our design. We want to put forward the work to change up our design when the circumstances of our site change. That does mean more inputs from us, but it also means that in the long run, we will put in less work. I don't want to keep struggling and babying and having to put a lot of water and energy and sometimes even like shade cloth on my honeyberries, especially into those plants in that front yard bed or in the dry parts of my rain garden. I want to make sure that I'm front loading my effort so that in the years to come, if it's hotter, if it's drier, we're forecast to have an El Nino year, I think, so it's going to be even hotter this summer, that those beds are going to be successful without me having to scramble, right? I want to put planned time into my beds. I don't want to have crisis management for my beds. So let me show you a little bit about what I got. If you would like more information, check out the video where I open up the shipment. And let me show you how I decide where to put things in my beds. Okay, I am right up here by the front door. I put these plants out and I made sure they got a good drink from the bottom. And then actually after I did that, it rained last night. So I have a combination of plants here that will do well. They're a little bit bent over from being in the box. You can see here, there's a little bit of blanching of the leaves because they didn't have sunlight, but they kept trying to grow. They will catch up. It's totally okay. This is a Liatris. I have a couple different varieties of Liatris here. I also have a couple different kinds of Echinacea. Good native to North American plants, Liatris aspera, and I'm gonna forget the other one, Liatris spicata, and the regular straight species Echinacea purpurea and Echinacea pallida, which has narrower petals. These are gonna be great for bringing in the pollinators and also not fussy, and also they will slowly spread and form a clump so I can divide them and get more out of them later. I always like plants that will fill in on their own, obviously, since I'm buying these tiny, tiny starts. Okay, back here, I have some more things. Let me show you. Oh, I gotta get up. Oh, first of all, also I have Dahlia here, which is not native where I am, I don't believe, white prairie clover, but it will be great for kind of the ground cover in these beds. Okie dokie. I got these little blue stem. I have spoken before, grasses aren't bad. Birds in particular like grasses, and I am excited to have them for the contrast they will provide in terms of leaf shape and to give a little bit more structure. I have this Culver's root. This is Veronicastrum. I have a cultivated variety of it in the backyard, but this is the native Veronicastrum virginicum. It is a white flowered variety. The one in the backyard is a pink flowered variety. Dahlia purpurea, so I have the white and the purple prairie clover. I'm going to be using these in both the front and backyard. This is the native bergamot, native Monarda. It is something that you want to make sure you plant in well-drained soil. And then I got this, just one of them. They're not native where I am. All the native plant folks don't at me, but this is ironweed, tall, going to go in the back of the bed. It will spread. So I also have a whole bunch of plants that are native specifically to Oregon. So don't think that this is like a comprehensive list of what you should plant in a dry, sunny bed. And I encourage you to look at what is native to your location and adapted to those hotter, sunnier climates. One of the things that, as we walk up to the front here, one of the things that Dr. Shondas talked about in a recent talk was on, a warming Oregon, is that when we're looking at those plants that are adapted to the hotter, sunnier parts of our garden, we may have to look beyond our native plants, because our native plants may not be adapted for conditions that are harsher. And so sometimes we need to go a little bit south of us. Now, some of these things I'm gonna leave. My comfrey does fine, my rose does fine. This bed I took a bunch of things out of. There's some little alliums that are spreading. I had hardy geraniums up here, and boy, oh boy, did they get sunburnt. This is Candy Tuft I got from my mom. You can see I have a bunch of it. Yeah, I don't love it, but it blooms early and it does great. So I'll probably leave it, but you can see I need to put some things in here. Bunch of things that were in here got really burnt and I ripped them out. This is Fragaria vesca. This is one of the native strawberries, also a great ground cover. You can see this is all that's left of my cultivated geraniums. They struggled super hard up here. Wood chips got dumped here, so I'm gonna need to uncover the edge of the bed here. I'll put some prairie clover here. This is the main bed I'm looking at though. You can see here, let's move you over here. Okay, this is the main bed. You may have seen it in other iterations. You can see where I've taken a bunch of things out that were having a hard time, and you can see what isn't doing well. I have this rose that I got, a flower carpet rose, at the beginning of the pandemic. I ordered it online. It was supposed to be a pale apricot. It is like a neon orange and I hate it. So I will probably be moving it. My kids won't let me get rid of it, but I hate it. It does not match with this bed. I have a spirea here. This was from a cutting that I got from somebody. Those root really easily. I have my lilacs here. This one's pretty tall. One of them that had some health issues, I had to cut super low down to the ground, and you can see that it is still recovering from that radical rehab. So I have all of these, gaps in here. This does not look so great. I'm right up by the street, as you can hear behind me. This is supposed to be a good neighbor bed. In the past, I have grown pumpkins and dahlias in here. I'm looking for more of a low maintenance flower border. You can see crap blows in off the street all the time. So I have some things in here that I don't really want. This is Coreopsis. You can see what kind of color it is. This is an early blooming Coreopsis. It'll look much better here really soon. Low growing in the front. I want to keep this. Okay, this is a Sanguisorba. I'm a big fan of Sanguisorba. It'll get about this much taller and have beautiful maroon blossoms. These are just things that need to come out. These are things that shouldn't be in here. To complement this, I have Rudbeckia, which will bloom later and be this same kind of shade. This is black-eyed Susan. I have just like holes everywhere around it, right? So this black-eyed Susan used to be up here. It's too tall, so I moved it to the back. And do you see here how I made a drift? Can you see that? I don't want just a big circle. I want an organic shape drift. And into this area, I'm gonna be putting those echinaceas interspersed with that because I think they'll look really nice together. And then up here, I'm gonna put some of those, like probably Liatris over here. I'll show you in a second. This is another Coreopsis. This has pink flowers. Oh, and look. Our neighbor has an invasive Norway maple, and I get Norway maple seedlings everywhere. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like when I'm deciding where to put my plants. Give me just a second. Like any project of mine, and I'm sure many of yours, this has become a little bit bigger than I initially imagined. Because we get our wood chips dumped here, and big trucks come and drop these loads with a tremendous amount of mass. And because this is a downhill slope, that mass of all those wood chips tends to push against my front barriers. This used to be part of my driveway, by the way, reused these blocks. And it pushes this downhill and it pushes all of this mulch up against the beds. You see how they're supposed to look like this, a raised bed. And all of this gets buried. That's not a bad problem to have, but it means I need a little bit of maintenance here. So I took out this big rose. I don't know where I'm gonna put it. And then traditionally when you are redoing a bed, you wanna take everything out and start over. But I'm not gonna do that because I just moved my Rudbeckia back here to form this drift. It'll fill in that little naked patch there. This Coreopsis, I just moved these chunks of it from over here so that it would form a drift and look less like a big bubble. I know I want to leave my Sanguisorbas there, but I did take out this other Coreopsis and a number of other plants that are probably going to go in different beds that were in here. So I have a little bit more of a blank slate. I'm also bringing in more compost. You can see that I leave all the leaves from my neighbor's trees. I don't bag up leaf mold. I just let it compost in place. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more compost from elsewhere in the garden, kind of raise the level of this bed a little bit. When you're working with lots of chop and drop and you're working with a really fertile soil, what you find is, yes, you're building really thick soil, but at the same time, whatever you put in here is breaking down. So it's this constant like build up, break down, build up, break down. And over time, your soil grows a little bit more and more. But I do need to add a little bit more compost in here now. So I'm going to leave this lavender and I'll leave this peony. Later in the summer, it will be shaded enough by this plum that it will do okay. As this dark maroon peony fades, the Sanguisorba will get taller and start to bloom. I have all of these holes here that I now need to fill in with all my new goodies. So I don't want to just chuck them in willy-nilly. I want to take them in their pots and lay them out. So let me show you how I do that. Okay, here's progress. I moved the sage over, lavender. You can see I'm putting things in drifts where I think they should go. A little blue stems back here, Veronicastrum over here. I'm gonna get the blue prairie clover and put it up here. Purple prairie clover, excuse me. Okay, I unexpectedly had to take a break right in the middle of this project and go see to my father. So some of this didn't get filmed when I got back. Basically, I set the pots out where I want to plant them, where I'm thinking about planting them. And then I tried to build a mental image in my head of what those will look like when they have filled in and are in bloom. And that's how I decide where I'm going to put things. I don't just go plant without stopping and trying to really visualize what's going to happen in the coming years. Here's the bed all planted out with a fresh layer of wood chips on top. It did start sprinkling after. Again, ideal weather, overcast and rainy for transplanting. Now, it's hard to see how this might look in the coming years. I'm saving so much money by using those tiny little plugs instead of 1-gallon pots. I'm okay if it doesn't look super lush this year. I'm thinking about the future. I put those tall Liatris back there, the Echinacea in front of the Rudbeckia, my little blue stems over here. For me, I can see what will happen in the coming years, and I'm excited about how this bed will fill in, be more resilient, more adaptable, and flourish in this hot, dry location while also providing food and shelter for wildlife. I hope you'll come back and see what it looks like as the season goes on. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to click like and subscribe. Bye-bye.